got this Kurt Brown head used. Just cleaned it up a bit, got it ready to install, and I'm taking a look at these fancy L19 head studs I have here. I understand you're not really supposed to touch these with your fingers and that sort of thing, so I got the rubber gloves out and I'm ready to install these right there. Just like that. Going with this Felpro Permatorque MLS gasket. Alright, I put the gasket on there and set the head down. I put the washers in the head before I slide it over the studs. There's a few that are impossible to get on there if you don't do that, so I do that, and now I'm doing, after some assembly lube, or some molly lube I should say, I'm going ahead and doing my 30, 60, 90 torque sequence on this in a star pattern. You should probably look it up and do it the way someone else tells you. That's just the way I do it. Getting ready to drop the cams in here. Got the lifters installed already. Just throwing these rockers in. They've been soaking in oil and they're slippery. I'm going to go with a little assembly lube here. Maybe a lot of assembly lube, I don't know. Drop these things in here, and how about a little bit more assembly lube? I mean, why not, right? And here we are. I got the cams installed, cam caps, cam bolts, a little bit of blue Loctite on those bolts, torqued them down to 15 foot-pounds, and I got a little carried away while I was at it. I went ahead and installed these cam gears. A little Loctite on those bolts too, tighten them up real good. About to put this intake manifold on. Got a gasket here. I coated it with a little bit of copper like I like to. Let it tack up a bit, stick it on there. About to put that intake manifold on there, torque it down. Got that intake manifold installed and decided to play around with the Magnus fuel rail and this S90 throttle body. I'm going to need some different hardware for the S90, as well as a fast idle air valve block-off plate. And there's no injectors down there under that rail, so still work to be done here. I went ahead and installed the injectors. Put the connectors down so that I can hide the wiring. That's going to be a priority for me, is to keep the wiring clean. And now I'm going to go ahead and install this coil pack. Coil pack installed, and showcasing that I just don't have all the bolts, nuts and bolts that I need. I got anything from these nice brand new ones to these nice rusty ones. Okay, so I got carried away and I went ahead and did this whole part of this job without videoing any of it. But just so you can see, I'm running the Evo 3 intake manifold there. And this is some good information that can be a little difficult to find, but from the factory, the Evo 3 EGR had a banjo fitting right here. It's an M16 thread. This is an adapter, I guess it's common on LS motors for hooking up gauges. It's M16 to 1/8 inch NPT. And I've got this coil here to cool down the exhaust gases that get passed through here into this dampener that will make it so that the sensor doesn't see such a jagged, spiky signal. This is going to dampen that. And on the other end of this, there'll be a hose that goes to the firewall where the sensor will be mounted to isolate it from the vibration of the engine. So, yeah, this is good info here. This M16 to 1/8 inch piece is pretty readily available. I'm installing my fast idle air valve block-off plate, and I got this new waffle gasket here. I've coated it in this dielectric grease, which I like to do so it can wiggle around and go where it needs to go. And I'm about to put some bolt locking compound on these screws and fasten this plate on. Alright, I got the gasket prepped for this, and I got these bolts and washers, and I'm going to go ahead and install this throttle body on there. I got this cam angle sensor installed, but you missed it. I got this water neck installed, but you missed it. This will be the port for coolant pressure that will run on a braided stainless line to the firewall where the sensor will be mounted. Very similar to the outlet of this device. There'll be a braided stainless line that goes from here to the firewall to where the sensor is mounted. I've decided to go with the big blue spring, 18.8 psi. Half actual for my wastegate spring. So I should be able to run between 18.8 and 37 or so. I have this manifold and wastegate installed, and it's time to install the turbo on there. So I have the turbine separated from the turbo itself, sitting right over here. And what I'm going to do is use these OEM turbo to manifold bolts with these OEM conical washers. You can see how this one is concave this way. This one goes on the other way, like that. And that's what keeps these washers from coming loose, or these bolts from coming loose, I should say. Little anti-seize on them so they don't gall up or anything like that. And we're ready to go. Here it goes. And there we have it. Torque to 48 foot-pounds. Here's the 68 HTA that'll be going on there, at least for now. I got my feed fitting and my drain fitting installed. And we're going to stick it right in here. There's a little dowel there. If you look carefully, there's a dowel pin on the right-hand side there. And that needs to line up with the hole that you can see right there in the middle of the screen. So let's see if I can do this while I hold the camera without dinging stuff up too much. And there it is. Now I just got to get the clamp and install it. I like to install this clamp with this nut orientated so that I can get at it and pull this cartridge out without taking this all apart in the future. But I don't know if this location would be good if you're using an internal wastegate. It could be right through there, so be careful when doing that. I'll tell you what, I'm no expert when it comes to assembling AN hoses, but what I do is I tape off and mark the hose and I cut it with this wheel. Then I push the end on, and I got these aluminum vice jaws that I clamp it in. I put some WD-40 on this piece right here, on the tip of it there. I push down really hard on it and turn it slowly. And once I feel like when I let go it doesn't pop back out, then I get out my adjustable AN wrench, and I be sure to push on top of this while I turn it in, at least for the first few rotations. From there, it's generally no problem. Got this oil feed line installed. This oil dipstick just sneaks by in here. Well, that's going to be it for now. There's lots more coming, so stay tuned and I'll see you next time.
Put cheese on it.